You are walking through a quiet park. Everything feels normal. Then suddenly, a squirrel stops and starts flicking its tail at you. Fast, sharp, aggressive, almost like it is angry. At first it looks harmless, maybe even funny, but what most people do not realize is that squirrel tails are not random movements. They are signals, warnings, messages, and sometimes that tiny flicking tail means you have already been identified as a threat. Think about this for a second. If squirrels are so small and vulnerable, why would one openly reveal its position by moving its tail around? Would that not attract predators? Exactly. So if a squirrel is willing to risk that, the signal must be important. And once scientists started studying this behavior, they discovered something surprisingly intelligent. For squirrels, the tail is more than just fluff. It is a communication tool, a survival device, and sometimes even a psychological weapon. Researchers found that squirrels flick their tails to warn other squirrels about danger. But that is only the beginning, because they also use tail flicks to tell predators something chilling. I see you, and I am ready to escape. In other words, the squirrel is announcing that it has already detected the threat, and this can actually discourage predators from attacking because surprise is gone. The hunt becomes harder. So that tiny tail movement is sometimes the squirrel saying, "Do not even try it." But here is where it gets strange. Squirrels flick their tails differently depending on the danger. Cats, dogs, humans, snakes, even hawks. Each threat can trigger a different response. Some tail flicks are nervous, others are aggressive, and some researchers believe squirrels even use their tails to confuse predators during escape. One study found ground squirrels heating and waving their tails at rattlesnakes, almost like they were sending a message the snake could physically sense. Imagine that a tiny squirrel psychologically intimidating a venomous predator. That is not panic. That is strategy. And honestly, life for a squirrel is constant pressure. Every day is survival. One mistake, one slow reaction, and it is over. So over thousands of years, squirrels evolved a language without words. Tail flicks, body posture, sharp sounds, quick freezes. Every movement means something. Even when they stare at you while flicking their tails, they are making calculations. Can this human be trusted? Should I run? Is there danger nearby? That tiny animal your brain barely notices is actively analyzing the world every second. And suddenly, the squirrel does not seem so simple anymore. But there is another reason squirrels flick their tails, and this one surprises most people. Sometimes, it is not fear at all. It is frustration. Wildlife experts have noticed squirrels flicking their tails when competing over food territory or mates, meaning sometimes that squirrel flicking its tail at you might actually be irritated because you interrupted something important. And strangely enough, the more squirrels interact with humans, the bolder these signals can become, especially in parks where they constantly observe people. Over time, some squirrels become less afraid, but more expressive, almost like tiny street survivors adapting to human behavior. And if you are enjoying these strange animal mysteries so far, subscribe now. Because the next behavior you notice in the wild might not mean what you think it does. But maybe the weirdest part of all this is how similar it is to humans. People have warning signals too. Crossed arms, eye contact, tone changes, nervous movements, tiny behaviors that silently communicate emotion, and squirrels are doing something remarkably similar. Not with words, but with instinct.
That tail flick you laugh at?
Could actually be one of the oldest survival languages in nature. A tiny animal broadcasting fear, confidence, stress, or warning signals without making a sound. So the next time a squirrel flicks its tail at you, do not ignore it, because you are watching communication happen in real time. A survival signal shaped by millions of years of evolution, and depending on the situation, that squirrel may be warning others about you, warning you about danger, or simply letting the world know it is paying attention. Funny, is it not, how one tiny tail movement can carry so much meaning? Have you ever noticed a squirrel flicking its tail directly at you before? Tell me what happened in the comments, and subscribe for more videos uncovering the hidden meaning behind strange animal behavior.